Hey, what's going on, crew? Klutch here. We're talking about all the new stuff. Farming Sim 22. We've got brand new build mode. We got new crops. We got upgraded sound. There's a bunch of things we need to talk about. I mean, build mode. There's some huge info that I'm really excited to talk about. New crops, even. Guys, I'm more excited about new crops now than I've been so far in the past. And upgraded sound. It sounds fantastic. So let's start off. We're going to be talking about the new build mode, which is very similar to the landscape mode. However, it's into one screen now is the whole idea. It combines the landscaping and the buildings mode all into one screen. Also, you're going to get your whole HUD still on the screen as well as your mini map. So everything is all built into one screen now in Farming Sim 22. We got a couple new tools to the landscaping tool, but hundreds of buildings and placeables is kind of the big info there. So the tools and placeables, we've got a little bit of a screenshot of kind of what they had available. They quickly scrolled through some of them. So we see a couple interesting ones in there. Tons of fences is kind of what we're, well, let's talk about fences. Placeable fences are now a thing in Farm Sim 22 base game. In fact, it's not just what we are come to used to. It is drag and drop style fences. So you place down your first, you drag it open, and it spreads out the fence for as long as you want, and you stop it where you need to. From there, you can actually even make a gate, built-in gates into the fences so you can extend over to the terrain. It looks like even will deform with terrain and take up that area. And from there, you'll be able to place a gate wherever you want. And they're actionable gates as well. As for new buildings, guys, we saw a bunch of the buildings as well, but they even talked a little bit about, well, beehives, generators, and solar panels to be able to make you some money. There's actually going to be solar panels on a bunch of the Horman animal pen buildings. We'll see what they make for money. That's kind of a cool idea. I really like that. Also, BGA, of course, the maps will have a BGA built in, but you can do modular BGA that you can place yourself. I'm curious to see what they mean by modular. We've seen a couple pictures, but not a lot of details on this yet. Now, they did go into detail a little bit about how the controls have been revamped. They felt the controls were too complicated for the landscaping tool, and they've revamped those. Not much has been said about that, but they've been revamped to make things a little bit easier. We'll see in the future what that means. What we can say is the tools look very similar as far as what you can do. Now, they said they've made them a little bit more revamped, but it still looks like you can raise terrain, lower terrain, flatten terrain, or sculpt terrain. Soften terrain, I guess would be the word I'd want to use. Looks very similar in that sense from what we can tell. I did not see any evidence, and they did not talk about any kind of an undo button. I know, sand, giraffe noises. Sand. Now inside the decoration or the build mode, there's going to be tabs for pretty much everything, guys. It's all built into tabs, so it's all on one screen. Now, it's categorized by buildings, productions, animals, decorations, and landscaping. So kind of similar into Farm Sim 22, how we just had the 2. Now you've got the 4 or 5, I guess technically, that you can tab between. Now inside the landscaping tab, you have some extra ones, of course, for sculpting, painting, for trees, and for plants. So nice to see a couple added in there as well, so you can paint those down. Nice to see trees in base game as well, right? The tool also makes selling items very simple. Just simply hit the demolish button and then click on whatever you're looking to sell, and boom, it's gone. And the last thing they talked about with the new landscaping or build mode, guys, is, well, where you activate it is where it will show up. So in current Farm Sim 19, where you activate it, it was where it was last activated. So if it was activated across the map at maybe a different area, that's where it would be activated. In Farm Sim 22 now, it's going to activate where you are, which I personally think is a way better system than what we have currently. So let's move on to new crops, which I was really kind of surprised by. I was not expecting this. So sorghum, of course, olives and grapes are our new crops. I wasn't all that excited for grapes and olives. All of a sudden, there's part of me now that's thinking this is going to be a lot more fun than I thought. So to begin with, we've got some interesting looking equipment, smaller equipment that fit between the rows for our grapes and olives. Very interesting. New Holland Fent, they showed off a little bit of some cultivating equipment, harvesting, spraying equipment, stuff that we haven't seen as of yet. But more so, the grapevines and olive vines, they're placed very similar to how fences are built. So you just kind of drag and click and make a whole line of these vines. Very cool. I'm really actually kind of excited about this now. Something I really didn't think much about. I thought it was going to be kind of not what I was going to be interested in, but now the more I'm looking at this, the more fun it kind of looks like it might be. Very cool looking. So what do we do with these new crops? Well, first of all, grapes, of course, can be just sold directly, or you can turn them into grape juice, or even go further and turn them into raisins in the cereal factory. There we go. So we've got all sorts of different options there. One thing to make note, the palette physics on the raisins looked a little weird. I'm not sure what that means. It doesn't look like normal farm sim to me, but there was some interesting physics there. Olives, they could be sold directly as well, or they could be sold over to the olive mill and processed further. And lastly, our sorghum can be used as feed, or they've been taken and made into flour and put to our bakery. So you got options for all three of these new crops. Giants has said that they are open as well to people taking these current new crops and the way these crops function and turning them into different mods. So the new crops can be utilized by modders and turned into new different types of crops that maybe not put into farm sim as of yet. They're open to this idea. And now moving on to the last big talking point, the sound fidelity. The increase in sound that has been put into Farming Simulator 22 sounds pretty good. I know there's so many puns I can put with this, I know. But let's be honest here, guys. A ton of different options here with the sound. The sound increases is more to do with the tractors themselves, of course. And what they're talking about here is, well, the way the tractors sound when they are not under load versus load. It's speed dependent, it's load dependent. So that is two huge things right now where you're really going to notice a difference in sound and the exhaust sound when you are pulling something or when you're trying to climb a steep grade. The sound will sound like the tractor is under load. And also, when you're at speed, you may get different sounds for basically the transmission. You'll be able to hear when you're at top speed. This transmission may be sounding more louder than the engine itself. Kind of an interesting concept there. We'll have different sounds for our transmission and for our engine depending on what state our tractor is in. Also, we're going to be getting some cabin noises now as well. It's how you get the wiper noises. You're going to get your shifter, even seat suspension noises, which is kind of nice to see. Also, you're going to get different sounds depending on what type of tractor. So newer tractors will sound more muted and will be more, well, modern, of course, and quieter. Or if you have an older tractor, the cabin noises will be louder, more, I don't know if a rattlier would be possible, but that'd be pretty cool. They also talked a little bit about more of the hydraulic sounds we can expect from the actuating pistons and the different metal on metal sounds when things shut down and close up. We already talked a little bit about this, and also forestry noises. We're gonna have some more forestry noises. Can somebody say timber? So that is it for the new features that they talked directly to, guys. They did go over some Q&A as well. So let's quickly go over some of the stuff that we talked about here. So we talked a little bit about greenhouses. What can we expect from greenhouses was one of the bigger questions, of course. Now, what we know about, this is what they said that can be grown in greenhouses: strawberries, tomatoes, and salad. I'm assuming when they said salad, they meant lettuce, but I don't know. I'm assuming. Now, greenhouses, what they're going to do is simply produce pallets for any of these products, and then you can take those to various sell points or your production chains, depending on what exactly you're going to do with them. There will be Seasons Pass for Farming Simulator 22, and it's going to be for all platforms. It just hasn't been announced yet. Stay tuned in the next few weeks, months. We'll have stuff available here, and we'll post when it does become available. Giants Editor for all you modders out there will also be available, similarly to how it was made available for Farm Sim 19, so expect it maybe a little bit before Farm Sim 22 release date. Those who were keen enough to see the AI helper menu show up on screen, well, unfortunately, they're not talking about that yet. Can't wait to hear what that's about. And then finally, bad news as far as force feedback, GPS, and virtual reality. No support on any of those fronts. GPS is something that I'm sure will be modded very quickly. Hopefully we see that sooner than later. I was kind of disappointed that, especially of all those, GPS was not in there. Force feedback would have been nice, but currently none of those are being supported for Farm Sim 22. And lastly, cross-play compatibility, guys. We talked a little bit about this. It was rumored that it was going to be a thing. I mean, it said stuff on the Xbox store page as well as the Steam page when these were first posted for pre-release, for pre-orders. However, currently, in the current state, it is not quite ready to that. We're not at that point yet. At least right now, that's something that it sounds like they are really working diligently towards. They want to have cross-play compatibility so we can play between Xbox, PlayStation, PC. Everyone can play together. However, currently at the current state, we are not there. So hopefully this is something that they say they're working towards, but they cannot say that for sure it's going to happen. They can't say that it's a possibility yet, but it's something they're trying to get to before the release of Farming Simulator 22. So folks, that is all the information on FarmCon for this year. Hope you guys enjoyed the videos. We had a whole bunch of other videos. If you guys want to find out all the stuff that was posted for FarmCon, go back and check out the previous 2 videos, because we've got it all posted, all the information that was released. We've talked about it all, so go check those out. Other than that, folks, hope you have a great day, and we'll catch you next time. This is Klutch, over and out.